Hey, First Things First listeners, before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now let's start the show. Oh, good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First on this, the last day of 2020. Woo! Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. It has been a very interesting year, to say the least. I'm thrilled to have spent it with the three of you and to everyone at home.
Nice, Jenna.
And with that, we are going to kick off our last show of the year in a big way. We got a big weekend of football to discuss. We'll start this morning in the NFL with some playoff questions heading into Week 17. Were you looking for something more profound? Not in Week 17. They got to dot the I's and cross the T's. We know the Steelers will sit Big Ben on Sunday. Now we're hearing the Chiefs have the same plan for Patrick Mahomes. They're going to rest him for their season finale against the Chargers. But Jenna, why not rest him? Chiefs have everything clinched. Glad you asked. There's still a few unchecked items, which is where our guy Nick comes in. Nick, is it a good idea or a bad idea for the Kansas City Chiefs to sit your guy Patrick Mahomes with the playoff bye already locked up?
It's probably the right decision, but I'm not sure I like it. And that is for selfish and selfless reasons. Selfish reasons is, listen, if you watch this show a lot, you've learned a few things about a lot of us. But one of the things you've learned about me is I may or may not have a slightly crippling gambling problem. And I've got bets on Mahomes to win MVP. That could go out the window. I have 7-1 on Travis Kelce to lead the league in receiving yards. Wave goodbye to that. And a bet, I've already spent the money. I've spent the money on Patrick Mahomes leading the league in passing yards. That was locked up. But if he doesn't play, all of a sudden Deshaun Watson could take it from him. So for my personal perspective, I don't love it. But bigger than that, here's my actual concern. It's not that the Chiefs haven't been playing well as of late, because I think that is way overblown. They played the Dolphins, who have a top 5 defense. They scored 33 points. They then played the Saints, who have a top 5 defense. They scored 32 points. They then played the Falcons in a totally meaningless game, and the Chiefs' defense was outstanding while the offense wasn't great. I'm not worried about how the Chiefs have been playing. I am worried about too much rust. And I am worried about a team that has lost one game in the last 14 months, all of a sudden going a month between meaningful games and going 2+ weeks between actually playing with giving yourselves a bye and then having earned the bye. So it's not about, the Chiefs need to get into gear, because I think that storyline is wildly overrated. It's about, if the last time you really locked in was the Saints game in Week 15, and then Week 16 you had everything clinched, Week 17 you rest everyone, wild card weekend you have a bye, and now all of a sudden, Brandon, you're playing either the Ravens or the Browns or the Titans or whomever you're going to be playing in round 2, a team that would be coming off a playoff victory. That does concern me a bit. I understand trying to avoid the injury, but I think the rust thing, Brandon, could be a real factor here.
Yeah, Nick, there's a few things here that we need to talk about. I think it's a good idea, first and foremost. And the reason why, these guys have been running high since the Super Bowl. You got to think about what you just said, Jenna. 2020 been an interesting year. No, it's been a tough year for probably 99% of the people in the world. So when you think about this, the physical and the mental toll that's been on a lot of us throughout this year, and then all these athletes as well, going into $1 billion business. They're multi-million-dollar athletes. And every day they're being criticized and critiqued and judged. They don't walk into these facilities and these coaches are saying, hey, guys, great job. No, 90% of the time they're like, hey, wide receiver, you're a yard off. You're an inch off the mark. You got to be better. Patrick Mahomes, you see that right foot? If you do this a little differently, the ball will come out a little better. So it's a high-pressured environment. So I would say for the Kansas City Chiefs, this is the perfect thing for them. Now you're giving Patrick Mahomes, the most deadliest quarterback, the most deadliest player in the NFL, a time to just relax and take a deep breath. I think this is a really good thing for them. And, Nick, I feel so bad for you. Man, you put all that money on the line to the MVP.
Man, I don't want to talk about
Travis
it.
Kelce. That's brutal.
They were all good bets.
Buddy, hopefully you parlayed the bet. I hope you parlayed the bet about them going back to back because they have the best opportunity to do the ultimate thing, and that's win a back-to-back Super Bowl. So
that
the MVP,
they win the
may
Super
be
Bowl,
out
it'll
there,
make up the
but
money.
Kevin.
That's a good point.
Correct. So I think this is a good thing. And Kevin, look, Patrick Mahomes may still win the MVP because Aaron Rodgers is going into Chicago, and it's not going to be an easy job for him. I'll tell you that, buddy.
I'm still giving Patrick Mahomes my MVP vote. Now you might say, Wilds, you don't have an MVP vote. All right, details. Look, Nick, this is why I don't think you should be worried. Patrick Mahomes knows his body better than everybody else. He knows the strategy of how to move through the playoffs. The only thing he doesn't know is, like, there's no such thing as the Patrick price. Everybody gets the same State Farm deal no matter who you are. And at some point, Jake, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't get it and Aaron Rodgers doesn't get it, maybe it's on you. Maybe it's your messaging. But here's the thing Patrick Mahomes does know. He hasn't been playing great, Nick. So the first 12 weeks of the season, killing it. You're up here puffing your chest out, being awesome. These last weeks, I mean, you can say that, it's overblown, but we know that he's a safety away from that Saints game, or a touchdown that turned into a safety, of being much closer. The A.J. Terrell interception drop, you could have lost that game. So this is a little bit concerning to me, and I assume he knows this. He's like, you know what? If he felt like he needed to shake some rust off and play, he would have. But I don't think he does. But this is a little bit concerning to me, as I think it should be to you.
Well, I will admit, and I think it's obvious, he has not been as sharp the last few weeks. You saw it with the 3 picks in the Dolphins game, which was more picks than he had in the whole season up to that point. And the A.J. Terrell play, you're right. It would have been a hell of an interception, but it was an interceptable ball. What does give me some solace in Andy Reid's decision to rest Mahomes, Jenna, is that I think Mahomes knew it going into the Falcons game. And he clearly wanted the rest. Because if you watched his reaction when the Falcons missed that field goal and the Chiefs won, it wasn't just the reaction of, we're not going to overtime. I think it was, okay, our regular season is complete now. I think he went into that game knowing, if we win this game, I'm not going to have to play Week 17. And if his number one goal was to get to the playoffs healthy, then he did accomplish that by winning that Falcons game, which, by the way, after the A.J. Terrell near pick, there was not a near touchdown, but an actual touchdown, a game-winning pass, 30 yards out to win the game by the guy who should be the MVP. That actually is how that game is.
All right, so what do we know here? We know Nick has lost money, especially if Mahomes doesn't go with 17. And we know the Chiefs are still the favorites to win the Super Bowl once again. But the Chiefs are followed by the Packers, the Saints, the Bills, the Bucks, and the Seahawks. Brandon, quickly here, who you picking to win it all, Chiefs or the field?
Yeah, well, you guys know I picked the Seattle Seahawks to come out the NFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers to come out the AFC. But right now, okay, I got to go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a better team this year, Jenna, than they were last year. And the reason why is because they find other ways to win. It's not all on Patrick Mahomes and his arm. They're winning on defense. They're winning on special teams. They're winning with coaches. They're winning with the running game. So I picked the Chiefs over the field, but it's going to be interesting. Don't forget about those Buffalo Bills.
So two very quick points. One is Brandon's been very good about owning up to his preseason Super Bowl pick. I've been very good about owning up to half of my preseason Super Bowl pick. I had the Chiefs winning it over the Dallas Cowboys, which, by the way, all of a sudden, that take's still alive. All of a sudden, the Cowboys take back from the dead. Like it could, like an old zombie take, it's back, and I should have never abandoned it. Cowboys still alive going to week 17.
No, it's over. It's done.
I've got Jenna. I will take the Chiefs over the field. And speaking of parlays, I will parlay that with, if we do get a Chiefs-Bills AFC Championship game, my old buddy Brandon Marshall might come on this show and say, you know what? I know I said the Chiefs, but I think the Bills are going to beat them. I think if the Bills win back-to-back playoff games, he's not going to be able to hide his love for Brian Daboll and Josh Allen, and he's going to pick them to beat Mahomes. I can see it coming down the pike.
All right, Wilds took some good, copious notes there. We got a lot of moving parts heading into Week 17. We're going to set the playoff picture. Who needs their team to win? Who needs other teams to lose? It's getting fun. That's next. First things first.
What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
Let us switch gears and get back to the NFL now. So, this Rams-Cardinals game, it's a pretty big deal. Rams win, they're in. Cardinals win, they're in. For the Rams, who could also sneak in with some help, they're without Jared Goff and they're without Cooper Kupp. The Cardinals need to win the game, and thus they will be playing with Kyler Murray, who's pretty banged up after last week. Take a listen to this.
Hey, Kyler, I just want to clarify, you are going to play, correct? You hear me? Am I coming through?
What was good?
I just want to clarify.
You asked me if I was going to play?
Yeah, I just want to clarify just because I wasn't sure about the first answer.
Go tweet out that I'm going to play. Yeah, I'll be playing.
All right, so we can discuss that in a little bit. Here's the race. First, let's talk about the race for the NFC's last two wild card spots. Rams are in with a win or a Bears loss. Bears also in with a win or a Cardinals loss, and the Cardinals need to win, obviously, to get in. And Kyler can't hear all the questions. Nick, let's open this up to both conferences. Which bubble team would you hate to see miss the playoffs?
Oh, well, to me, there's only one bubble team that a few weeks ago I thought could win the Super Bowl, and that's the team I would hate to miss the playoffs, and that's the Rams. The Rams were 7-3, looking great.
Hot.
And then Jared Goff had a 3-turnover game against the Niners. They rebounded from that. They were 9-4, and then they lost to the Jets when the Jets were actively not trying to win. And then Goff played a game against the Seahawks. I don't know if people were watching it with the sound on, but Buck and Troy were on the call. I thought Troy Aikman might be brought to tears by Jared Goff's play. He seemed so despondent about it. He was like, I don't know what he saw. Like every time he's like, Joe, I got to tell you, I don't know what he's looking at there. He just seemed like, are you kidding me, man? You got all this talent, you got this team, and you're blowing it. And if you're the Rams, who, Brandon, this will blow your mind. The last first-round pick they had was Jared Goff. They keep trading, and by the way, they don't have one next year. They keep mortgaging the future for now. They have the best player on the defensive side of the ball in Aaron Donald. They have the best corner in Jalen Ramsey. I know Kupp's banged up right now. They have a good receiving core. They have a good offensive line. They have a great coach. And if they miss the playoffs, and I understand Goff at this point is not going to play week 17, but it would have been his play that put them in this position. If they miss the playoffs, it is such a blown opportunity when 2 weeks ago, Brandon, they were alive for the 1 seed. So to me, I'd like to see them in, and it would be an amazing fall from where they were if they miss.
Yeah, and not only that, their defense was lights out. Remember that? Don't forget that was the best part of this whole team. So I don't know what's happened to the LA Rams. But Nick, brother, you rarely make mistakes on TV. You're so sharp. How do you get Jared Goff's name wrong? You talk about your guy Goff and you just chop up his name? There you go.
Right.
Make sure, put respect on his name. What's his name again?
My bad.
Little tiny hands. That's why he can't get
can't call him that.
Tiny hands. You're right.
So,
no, you can't.
So look, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. But for me, the team is the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, it looks like they're going to get the job done. They're going to win. They'll be in. So I'm going out on a branch here a little bit. But I'm concerned. They're playing against a Cincinnati Bengals team that is embracing being the spoiler. So if they lose to Cincinnati, who just beat the Steelers, who just beat the Texans, and they did it convincingly, then this is going to be a situation where they need help. And the reason why this is a big deal is because of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, there's no guy right now that has to answer more questions in the National Football League. This is a dude who lost he lost the last 2 playoff games. And that's all we talk about. Can Lamar Jackson be a quarterback in the National Football League?
Right.
Can Lamar Jackson win the big one? When you talk about certain quarterbacks, there's a few guys that you just think of and you say, that guy should win a Super Bowl. You got like Dak Prescott out there. You got Deshaun Watson's a big name that we always talk about. Like, man, this guy's going to win the Super Bowl. You have also Lamar Jackson. He is a phenomenal talent. The question mark for him is, can he last with the style of play and the brand of football that they do, that they how they approach it in Baltimore. So when you look at this situation, I'm really concerned for the Baltimore Ravens. There comes a point in a player's career where they have to get over that hump that is just holding them back just a little bit. Every player is different, and it seems to be the playoffs for Lamar Jackson, Wild. So if they win, they're good, but if they lose, they need help, and there's going to be a big question mark around Lamar Jackson going into this offseason.
Yeah, I think he gets in. They've won 4 straight. This will be their 5th win. If you don't beat the Bengals without Joe Burrow, then you probably don't deserve to be in. And then Nick, I'm also a Rams guy. And a little side note here. Shout out to Adam Gase. Ruined 3 seasons, perhaps. The Jets season, the Rams season, and maybe the Browns season. So Adam Gase was like, this guy's such a bad coach. I don't know. He's playing spoiler alert in a big way. But Rams not losing. Do you know why? Hero comes along named John Wolford, who started his press conference with the question, hey, by the way, how do you pronounce your name? The guy led the AAF in touchdowns and also has a LinkedIn page. Lindsey Theory has said, hey, do you know you still got a LinkedIn page? He's like, yeah, I worked a little, as a financial analyst for a little while. Then I got to play a little football. So look, you want somebody to root for John Wolford, who's going to light the place up.
What?
He's going to light it up. Nick, it might be. This is the hottest take of the year that I don't nearly believe. This might be a Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith thing. Come in week 17, like, wow, this guy, we got to ride him. He's so hot. Let's go, Wolford. Want some to root for? Let's go.
How big is his hands? How big is his hands?
They're bigger than golf.
I don't.
Yeah, they're bigger than golf. Brandon, I've been calling him John Swafford all week, who I think's a conference commissioner. So I didn't even have his name right, but I know he has bigger hands than golf. But I'm telling you this, Jenna, with truth serum, if you ask Sean McVay, are you any less confident with this dude you just met than you've been with golf the last month? McVay's like, no, we'll be okay. I don't think McVay looks at this as that big of a downgrade, honestly. I really believe that, Jenna.
All right, let's play a little in or out right now. You can't do that. You can't call him tiny hands. Could this be the last ride for Phillip Rivers? I'm sure you have a nickname for him. Let's not go there. Colts needing a win over the Jaguars Sunday to make it to the 2nd season. Rivers was asked about Sunday being his last game. He said this, you have to acknowledge it as a possibility. Nick Wright, you in or out on Phillip Rivers being a Hall of Famer?
Why you ask Nick?
So this
Don't ask Nick this question.
Well, Brandon, I'll be very quick and I'll give it to you because we need to at some point do probably an hour on this. I can't live in a world where Phillip Rivers in the NFL Hall of Fame or Pro Football Hall of Fame. I can't. If he's in, Matt Ryan's in. And if Matt Ryan's in, Carson Palmer's waving around saying, hey, what about me? Like, what are we doing? No. The answer is no. Phillip Rivers, who had LaDainian Tomlinson for his whole prime and was able to do nothing. Phillip Rivers can't be a Hall of Famer, Brandon, but I know you disagree with me. I know you do.
Yeah, listen, I'm leaning towards being in on this, Jenna, but I need a little bit more time. I need to go do my research. I want to break down every year that Phillip Rivers has been in the National Football League. This is a guy that's played this position at a high level. People, it's either you love him or you hate Phillip Rivers. I'm one of those guys that absolutely love Phillip Rivers, so right now I'm trending towards him being in, Wilds.
It just feels like there needs to be a smaller wing of the Hall of Fame for guys like Phillip Rivers. It's not
Yeah.
you know,
Fringe guys.
it's not in
Fringe
Canton. It's in
famers.
like
Fringe Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
Hey, as we
outside
round out
that's
the
in,
year
like,
that
Cincinnati.
was, couple of senior superlatives to kick around. This one you won't want to miss, I promise. It's next as First Things First.
Hey, First Things First listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
But I said this week I moved Josh Allen ahead of Mahomes in 2, and the reason I did is, in my lifetime, Belichick's worst month and Sean Payton's worst month are September. We have never in the NFL cared about September. Like in the NBA, we don't care about December. And in the end, the last 7 to 8 weeks, Josh Allen's a better quarterback. Last 4, he's a much better quarterback. So I put Josh Allen behind Aaron, Mahomes' third MVP. I'm sure that rubbed you the wrong way.
All right, listen, I'm going to reveal something to the audience. And I don't even know if you remember this, Colin.
Okay.
Sometime in the last week, Colin Cowherd and I were on the phone together. And in passing, Colin referenced me in a story he was telling someone else about me as, quote, my best friend, Nick Wright. And I don't even think Colin remembers that, but it happened, I promise. I know, because it was so touching to me. I went and told my wife. I said, Cowherd referred to me as his best friend. And then I saw this, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even like him anymore. Don't even care. Like, it means nothing to me anymore. You're going to say Mahomes is third? He's third in the MVP voting.
Surprises me that you take that stuff so personally. No, it doesn't. Time for drawing a blank, guys. Talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. Nick's hometown team took home the Super Bowl back in February, geared up for another run at it in 2021. But Brandon, the team that impressed you the most in 2020 was blank.
This is an easy answer for me. I'm always looking for the underdog. I've been an underdog my entire life, so I'm going to go with the LA Dodgers. 32-year drought to win a World Series. They got it done this year. They got over the hump. 8 years in a row making the playoffs. Out of the last 3 years, they made it to the World Series twice. They got it done, so they get the call right now. The Dodgers, phenomenal year. They played lights out. Amazing story for baseball, amazing story for sports, an amazing story for the underdogs out there.
Brandon, I almost went with my hometown Chiefs. Had they beaten the Raiders, they would have gone the entirety of 2020 without losing a football game. But because they lost that game, I'm also going to go with a scrappy underdog, a team no one believed in, a team many counted out, the Los Angeles Lakers. Washed King, do they even want to be in the bubble? Not even the best team in LA. And LeBron, not even the best player in LA. And then, all of a sudden, similar to, what was it, the 69 Mets? A team that just comes out of nowhere and just runs roughshod through the playoffs. So I just think it's an all-time great underdog story.
The 69
and wild. I'd go check the articles, my friend. And so I'm going to go ahead and say the Lakers, who nobody saw coming, who were able to beat the big bullies in their own backyard, the Clippers. Well, they didn't actually beat them because they had to play them because the Clippers fell apart. So I'm going to say the Lakers. It's the Lakers. What are you laughing
I've
about?
ever heard in my life. They're the 69 Mets. You know, I was going to go with my hometown New England Patriots, but they're terrible. So I didn't go with them. I went with the Milwaukee Bucks instead. Why the Milwaukee Bucks? They didn't even make it to the finals. That's a fair point. But no team had more fun. And you know what? 2020 was a rough year. No team had more fun than the Milwaukee Bucks, who not only led the league in point differential, but have really intricately staged back. Like, this is not just like, hey guys, let's put 1, 2, 3, let's go win. Oh, look at this! He's got the snake comes out, blammo, and yeah. One caveat.
Blammo.
And this is my old man in me. Someone's gonna get hurt. And they're struggling right now. And I don't know if they need more wrestling or less, Jenna. But
yep, all fun and games until a buck gets hurt. Yep, I get it. I'm with you on that.
That's not how it goes.
On to the king now. LeBron added another notch to his title belt in 2020, just like the 69 Mets did. Nothing normal about the bubble, but that's the way 2020 went. So, Wilds, the athlete that impressed you the most in 2020 was blank, and you can't say me.
Look, I'm not. I was going to. I didn't. I knew that before the show. Like I was going to say Jenna.
I know you had video
out.
ready to go.
I said no.
Jenna, and then and then.
All right. So instead, I went with Jimmy Butler. Here's why. Again, didn't make the finals, but cemented himself. Everyone wants to be like the next Iverson. Like I'm a little bit like Iverson, and this person's like Iverson. Like no, this dude is like Iverson. Play a ton of minutes. Play hurt. Be focused on the squad. Carry a team with just kind of by yourself. And then when the Lakers played them, the 69 Mets-type Lakers, you have to be like, wow, they still have a chance to go to Jimmy. And has a side hustle and charging $20 for coffee and made the business work. So shout out to Jimmy Butler, my favorite athlete of 2020.
It's just tough to give it to Jimmy Butler when his team was such a massive favorite in the finals against those underdog Lakers and blew it. I'd love to give it to LeBron, but LeBron was second in MVP voting, first team All-NBA, NBA champion, and finals MVP. But it was only like his 6th best season ever. So I can't give it to him. So I'll give it to the guy who had the best year of anybody, Patrick Mahomes. He won Super Bowl MVP. He should be winning league MVP, but there's a theft going on up in Wisconsin. From what I hear, there could be multiple thefts going on up in Wisconsin. I wonder why no one's investigating. He had 3 double-digit playoff comebacks in 2020. By the way, that is the most of any player in the history of the league in their career, not named Tom Brady. So Patrick Mahomes, who has gone, 18-1 this calendar year, won a Super Bowl MVP, and should be winning.
And he's going to be a daddy.
He's my answer. Oh yeah, forgot about that. That's true.
And he's got married. Going to be.
I like it.
Dad.
That's a good one. That's not bad. I'm gonna lump in a bunch of guys here. I'm gonna go with the NFL players in the social justice video, and I truly believe this is the right answer because these guys set the tempo. I believe that the NFL locker room is a microcosm of society. You have guys from so many different walks of life with so many different belief systems, and we're supposed to come together for one goal, and we find a way to do it. So this year has been tough on everyone. Racial tension soaring. So when you see DeAndre Hopkins, OBJ, Patrick Mahomes, and so many other guys come together and say, what if it was me? What if it was me? I truly believe it set the tempo for the NFL to stand up, use this amazing platform to push this conversation forward. So I got to go with these guys in this video. Bravo. You never really see the NFL player outside of the box, and they did it this year.
It's a great
answer. It's well said. Exactly. All right, let's talk some Dak Prescott now. The quarterback was off to a blazing hot start before suffering a season-ending leg injury. Expected to make a full recovery and return next year. Brandon, the player you are most excited to see in 2021 is blank.
Help me out here, Nick or Jenna or Kevin. What's the Texans' record? Would they win like 4 games this year or something?
4-11.
Look, the answer 4-11. But do you guys know that Deshaun Watson has the second best passer rating in the NFL this year behind Aaron Rodgers. That is the guy. You mean to tell me this guy is playing lights out all year, given the circumstances? No general manager, no head coach, no wide receiver. You trade my best wide receiver, and I'm still playing lights out. So I'm excited to see this guy this year coming up, because if he had the right pieces around him, he's a guy that can win 8 games by himself.
Luckily for him, that 4-11 record has earned the Miami Dolphins a top 5 pick, because Bill O'Brien's reign of terror is still raining hellfire on that poor organization. I am, Brandon, going with another Clemson quarterback, Trevor Lawrence.
Ooh.
Trevor Lawrence is going to be a superstar. All of the love that Herbert and Burrow were getting this year, understandably, Lawrence is going to get that tenfold next year. And, Wilds, you're going to like this. I have not always been the best at profiling college to pro quarterbacks, but there's one metric that never fails, and that has to do with neck size. Long, skinny neck never works. Just ask Mike Glennon. Short, incredibly thick neck, always a star. Trevor Lawrence might have the widest neck I've ever seen in an NFL quarterback. He can't miss.
Say that
Trevor
again.
Lawrence, look at him. Look at him. Look at him. His neck goes past his ears. His neck is wider than his ears. Look at him. I promise you. Look it up. Check the metrics. That's right. Trevor Lawrence is the answer, Wilds. What are you shaking your head about, Wilds? I don't appreciate that.
Well, because sometimes you're like, oh, I want to be a GM. And you go in and talk to the executive board like that. It's just not going to fly. I also have a quarterback, and I haven't measured anyone's neck size, so maybe if I was a tailor, I'd be able to. I'm going to go with whoever's playing quarterback for the New England Patriots. Who's it going to be? I don't know. Is it going to be Cam? Maybe. I've got some people I would like. Jimmy G? Maybe. Matthew Stafford? Yeah, be nice. Carson Wentz?
Stafford's got a big neck.
No, thank you. No, stop with that.
Skinny.
That is so weird. You're not a tailor.
I'm just telling you.
All right, back to the bubble.
I'm just telling you.
LeBron's poster dunk on Russell Westbrook here was one of the highlights of the year. This is always my favorite question. Brandon, the best play of 2020 in the NBA. I know it's going to be tough, but the best play of 2020 in the NBA was blank.
Yep, let's stay in the bubble. Let's go with Anthony Davis buzzer beater to go up 2-0 against the Nuggets. The reason why I think this is the right answer is because this is the moment where I think a lot of us said, you know what? LeBron James may win 6. He may win 7. He may catch Michael Jordan. Because you got a guy who's played at an extremely high level for 16, 17 years, and now he can pass the torch when his body starts to break down just a little bit. He has an Anthony Davis that can carry this team. He can carry him to another 2 championships. This is a guy that, when you look at LeBron James, it's like, I take care of my body. Now let me just lead the pack. Let me distribute, and him go do it and get it done. So I got to go with Anthony Davis in this moment, because this is where he stepped into superstar status.
That's a great answer. And listen, I'm going to do more of a kind of heartstrings one. We're all parents on this show. And we all either have experienced or will experience moments where we look at our kids and we're like, you know what? That's all the work I put in. Like with Jenna, when Harper and Quinn execute their first perfect form burpee, she's going to swell with pride. One day, Wild's son Russ is going to say, Dad, I got to tell you, that basketball game last night reminded me of a Monopoly game from 2 weeks ago, and Wilds is going to tear up. And Brandon, all 3 of his kids are going to be one hand catching off the jugs machine, and he's going to say, that's what we've worked to. I got to experience that moment when Luka hit that step back. And I said, you know what, son, this is why for so long we worked in those cobblestone driveways in Slovenia. So you could do this right in Reggie Jackson's eyeballs. Kawhi Leonard, nowhere to be found. Playoff game on the line. Bang. Right there. My large adult Slovenian son with the play of the year. Now, son, if you're watching, it does appear you're still celebrating this moment. Maybe a few too many pierogies. Hey, let's get in shape for this year. Dad put a lot of money on you to win league MVP. Hey, we gotta turn the page in 2021. But Luka, that's the play of the year.
Okay,
Bravo,
mine's also off the board a little bit because look, all the players are going to have great plays, and we've always heard, players play, coaches coach. Nick Nurse, the one guy who threw that out the window. Nick Nurse looked around like, you know what? Coaches play too. When he went down to the baseline and may or may not started calling for a corner three and tricked Jason Tatum in the playoffs. And I said, what? This is where coaches normally are. Standing here for an open jump shot. Claim to what? So very savvy play. Better than any other play that any player did. Because this guy did too.
I love it.
Best player coach in the league. Congratulations, Nick Nurse. Was it cheating? Yes, but great play.
I love it. All right, to the NFL. We're never going to forget the DK Metcalf chase down. Budda Baker still having nightmares about this one. But Brandon, the best play of 2020 in the NFL was blank.
Oh, the first one that comes to mind, I got to go out west. Look, fourth quarter, game's on the line. You got 3 seconds, 4 seconds left. You got a guy drop back, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He throws the ball up in the air. And then all of a sudden, the guy comes down with the touchdown. Oh my goodness. Did you guys know this is you have a 2% chance to make this happen? You know how many balls are thrown into the end zone for a Hail Mary and they fall incomplete? How many times have we seen this? And sitting in our living rooms hoping and praying that our team is the team that gets it done. That's a part of that 2% family. This is it. D-Hop, Hail Murray, this is the play.
That's the throw and catch of the year. I went with the run of the year, which oddly came from a quarterback. This happened this calendar year. It feels like it happened 20 years ago. Can we show it, please? Patrick Mahomes. I know you're going to say, Nick, you're biased, but I'm not biased. I don't know if we can show it. I think we can show it. Here it is. Look at that. No, it's against Derrick Henry's team. Oh, I'm going to stop. No, I'm not. I'm going to keep going. Am I going to go out of bounds? I don't know. And how about I truck stick you? Follow me in. Look at that. To take the lead, the Chiefs did not trail again that game en route to their first Super Bowl in 50 years. The play of the year in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes for halftime of the AFC Championship game.
Okay.
That was a stretch,
play of
Nick.
the year. Actually, there's two. In the NFL, with Patrick Mahomes plays, like they're doing pirouettes on the line, and it's like very clever, don't get me wrong. But Derrick Henry, just very simple, just smashing Josh Norman, and then the one that he had the other day, oh my goodness, just a wonderful play. Derrick Henry, my favorite player in the NFL, I guess now. So congratulations, Derrick Henry, the true winner of the play of the year.
This is great. I could listen to you guys do this all day. All right, we got to switch gears here, talk some Brooklyn Nets on the other side. Should KD, not sarcastic, have you met me? I've never been sarcastic. KD and Kyrie, should they be happy with their bounce-back win last night? Before you answer, wait to hear what the guys have to say. It's next. First things first.
What?
It is time to make our picks for Sunday's Fox Super 6 contest. One of the matchups, Steelers at Browns. Knicks, who do you like and by how many? Knicks.
Browns by 6, and if the Browns lose, I would bet the Steelers plus me not to show up Monday. Not dealing with it. Browns by 6, Brandon.
Ooh, this is a tough one for me. If I know Mike Tomlin is still going to try to get that second string group fired up and going and go win the game. I want to say the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I want to believe in Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, please get it done against Mason Rudolph. So I'm going to go with the Browns by 10.
That plea notwithstanding, get your picks in before the early games on Sunday for your chance to win a whole bunch of money. For much more information, you can always head to the Fox Sports app. All right, we are moving on. We're going to hit the NBA now. The Brooklyn Nets got back on track last night, beating the Hawks and avoiding an early 3-game slide. Kyrie played. He finished the game 33, 11, and 8. KD played. He went for 25. And so Chris Broussard is up playing with us this morning. Broussard, good morning. Good to see you. We're going to get to you in just a second. But, Nick, I want to start with you. Big game for both Kyrie and KD. Big win for this Brooklyn team. You starting to become a believer in the Nets after what you saw?
Jenna, I'm actually more concerned about the Nets right now than I was at the beginning of the year. And listen, I'm not gonna, dwell on the defensive side of the ball. If Chris Broussard 4 games in was like, oh, Nick, number 1 defense in basketball. And then the Hawks hang 140 on him. He's 68 in the first half, 73 in the second half. Because as it turns out, when you're not playing the Warriors, when you're not playing the Warriors anymore, and you got to actually D up, it gets a little tougher. But that's not my concern. My concern is I truly believe the Nets have a Kyrie Irving problem, whether they know it yet or not. Last night, when KD checked back into the game with around 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and KD and Kyrie were both out there, in that moment, Kyrie was 5 of 18 from the field. KD was 10 of 20. Was playing great. It was a close game. Can we show all of the shots KD got the rest of the fourth quarter? It shouldn't take long. This was a frustration shot with 1:20 left because he hadn't touched the ball in 5 minutes. And then he gets one more transition dunk to end the game. Now, I will show you all the shots Kyrie took in that same time span, but it's going to take so long that, Broussard, you're going to have to take over about halfway through here. And I know he made a lot of these shots, but these aren't good shots. These aren't sustainable shots, Broussard. And it is the trend we have seen through 5 games, 4 that they've both played, which is in the fourth quarter, Kyrie's taking the shots, man. And that cannot be how this team works, and it won't be how this team wins, Broussard. And so set the defensive side of the ball. They were in the beginning, but now keep watching. This is a great one where he gets bailed out on some phantom foul call, but you're going to see more. Broussard,
he got hacked.
I don't know why at the end of games they're not running offense. It's just Uncle Drew, do your best to cook. That's a good one right there. When KD had been playing great, but that's not a way you're going to win a championship. Here's another good one, Broussard. Right there. Blame him.
Nick, KD, first of all, he did have 16 points in the fourth quarter. So 1 fewer than Kyrie. I'll give you, though, and look, with Kyrie's history, leaving LeBron, going to Boston, and things didn't go well there, I'm not going to sit here, as much as I like the Nets, and act like Kyrie, things couldn't go wrong with Kyrie. All right, that is a possibility. I think he'll be fine this year. I think they'll work things out. But, yeah, that certainly always has to be on the table. And I was watching last night's game at the end and thinking, he ain't even looking at KD. Like, it was unbelievable. He wasn't looking at anybody. KD was a role player. He was standing over at the wing watching, and you're right, that three-pointer at the end, that was a frustration. I was like, okay, it's my turn. I haven't touched the ball. Let me get a shot up. Where I disagree with you on is that those shots are good shots, most of them, and they are sustainable because Kyrie can get an open look anytime he wants. And he is a very good shooter. So he can make and take those shots whenever he wants. But you're right. You want to see more of a balance. Now, remember, the other night against Charlotte, KD did get the last shot. With 7 seconds left, he goes baseline and misses a short mid-range shot. So it's not like Kyrie's hogging the ball all the time and KD's not getting his. But, yeah, I want to see a little bit more balance between those two. But I think they'll work it out. They're very close friends, as we all know. I don't think it'll be a problem. But, yeah, it's something you just got to watch. Let me say this quickly. Let me say this quickly, too. It's clear, Nick, right? Kyrie's the leader of this team. I mean, he is the alpha. KD's the best player. We know that. But you watch, I mean, who gave Steve Nash the game ball? Who determined that? Who is, as you said, Nick, the guy with the ball in his hands, taking the shots? Kyrie has the more dominant and stronger personality, and they're going to have to, work through that.
You guys are wasting time talking about KD and Kyrie. Look, 58 points. That's what they do. But that's not what's going to help us win a championship, Nick. You're right. That's not the star. They're not the stars of the team. Our team is the star of the team. They score 58 points, but the bench score 87. So when you have this conversation about my Brooklyn Nets, you got to talk about Joe Harris. You got to talk about Jared Allen. You got to talk about Prince LeVert. That's who you got to talk about. That is the star of the team. So, Nick, you're talking about, oh, they played against this team. They're not playing defense. They put up 145 points, and Kyrie and KD only scored 58. That is a sign. That's a recipe for success. So, Wilds, when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, you guys got to stop talking about KD and Kyrie because they're our role players. Talk about our bench. Talk about our other stars.
Brandon, can you put up the jersey again, please? Because although Brandon claims to be a huge Nets fan, it's actually his son's jersey. So don't think that Brandon just wears super tight jerseys to show off his muscles. Just the tightest jersey ever. Nick, to your point, you did a good job at showing all those Kyrie misses and a lot of good makes too. After the game, Nash is like, he needed to get in rhythm. And Durant talked to Kyrie. When Durant was on the bench, he went over to talk to Kyrie. He's like, do your thing. He's like, all right, I'll start doing my thing. So how much of it is like, listen, Kyrie is a rhythm player. He needs to take some shots. He needs to take a lot of shots to get in rhythm, and that's why he had 17 points in the fourth, because he got to take a lot, and some of them are going to miss.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I understand. Listen, this wasn't a nationally televised game, and I think a large percentage of our audience didn't watch it. And if you didn't watch it, I think your impression is Nick is really trying to pick nits. Kyrie had 17 in the fourth quarter after being ice cold, and you're talking about why it's bad. I am being as earnest as I can be. If you watched it, Kyrie was so singularly focused on his offense. It looked like, Broussard, the games in Cleveland when LeBron would sit out. And it was like, hey, this is the only way we can score. And KD is just sitting there waiting. And when KD is coming from a place in Golden State which has the most equal opportunity offense we've ever seen in the league. In fact, that culture is so deep that Steph can't pull himself out of it when he's getting, instead of getting open shots for Clay and KD, it's Oubre and Wiggins, and they're clanging it off the side of the backboard. Like, it's got to be somewhat jarring to Durant. And I do wonder if that fourth quarter, you know what that shot Durant took, the one three-pointer he took, which was not a good shot, and I don't blame Durant. But you know what it reminded me of, Broussard? Some of the shots he would take in OKC when Russ was just going Russ. And he's like, you know what? I don't know when I'm going to touch the ball again, so I'm putting it up. And that's not when Durant's at his best. And I just really think that is something to watch, because last night was not the first night where Kyrie took way more shots in the fourth than Durant did.
It can be something to watch, for sure. Again, I think they'll work it out. I think they can talk it out. Durant can talk to Kyrie and correct him, reprimand him, and vice versa. So I think they'll get it worked out. But you're right. I was thinking, man, this kind of looks like OKC. The difference is Kyrie is a much better, more skilled scorer than Westbrook. Yep. Yes, I mean, those are not bad shots for Kyrie. They were open shots for the most part. He forced a few, but for the most part, those are open shots. These guys will work it out. But KD's got to be, he wasn't willing to tell Westbrook, give me the ball. He's got to tell Kyrie.
Talking about our role players.
He's got to do it.
Broussard, thank you very much.
It's all in on the bench mob.
They get along.
All in on the bench mob.
Why will this be a very relaxing weekend for Patrick Mahomes and not a very relaxing weekend for Nick Wright? We'll explain. Stick around. Broussard, thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.
It's the final Sunday of the regular season. Kicks off with the Cowboys in a must-win against the New York Football Giants. Then the Bears try to win their way into the playoffs against a Packers squad gunning for the top seed in the NFC. Or other regional action. Check local listings for the games in your area. It's only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. All right, time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. We head to Kansas City, where Patrick Mahomes will rest for the season finale against the Chargers. And why not rest him? Chiefs have everything locked up and clinched. Well, there are a couple things left, which is where Nick comes in. Nick, is it a good idea or a bad idea for the Chiefs to sit Mahomes with the playoffs bye already locked up?
Listen, I understand the fear of playing him, having him get dinged up, and looking like a total idiot. I get that. And the only way the Chiefs aren't massive favorites to win the Super Bowl is if Mahomes gets hurt. So it's the decision I get that you have to make. But Brandon, I don't think it's without risk. Because after the Chiefs beat the Saints and the Dolphins, they locked up the 1 seed headed into last week. It wasn't official, but they could have lost to the Falcons and the Chargers, and still they were like 97% to be the 1 seed. So they were good. So last week they played a game that you could tell they weren't all that focused on. Now this week they're going to be playing a game without their quarterback. And next week they're not going to be playing a game at all. So you're going to go a month without really locking into an opponent. And I saw the 15-1 Packers, who were a defending Super Bowl champion with the best quarterback alive, very similar to this year's Chiefs team, do something similar, rest Rodgers in Week 17. And then by the time they played the Giants in their first playoff game, they didn't look anything like themselves. So I understand why they're doing it, but I don't think it's without risk, Brandon.
Yeah, this is a tricky and complex situation. We have this discussion every single year around this time when teams are heading into the playoffs. You know, do we rest our starters? Do we not? Guys who are on the verge of breaking individual records, do we let that guy go out there and get it done or not? So this is very tricky. But, Nick, there's so many things that pop out for me around this discussion. I think about, you know, like Patrick Mahomes and in leadership. I think, you know, this is a team that's built to be able to take off a week or two because of like guys like Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Mahomes, even Andy Reid. They have great leadership. If you look at Patrick Mahomes, you see the fire in this kid's eye. This isn't a guy that's like, oh, I'm happy to have my contract. I'm happy to get 1 Super Bowl. I'm happy to get 1 MVP. This is a dude that's chasing greatness. And when I mean greatness, I'm talking about potentially going down as the greatest quarterback or the greatest player to ever grace God's football pastures. So that's what we're talking about when you see Patrick Mahomes. I think about the mental and the physical strain that you have to have every single day to be at a high level in the National Football League. So I think these guys are deserving of a week to rest. I think they need it. They've been running high for an entire year from the Super Bowl. They need this break, Wilds.
Sorry, the GOAT talk threw me off there a little bit. I thought he just had 1 Super Bowl.
I was wondering, like, what's wrong?
4 and 6.
What's wrong
it's like
with all of that?
1 and 6.
Yeah.
He's great player. Nick, I think he should be able to do whatever he wants to do, obviously. If he says, you know what, I want to sit, obviously they're going to say he's sit. If he wants to wear Andy Reid's face mask, he should be able to wear Andy Reid's face mask. He knows his body. He knows the strategy. You know all that. He also knows, hasn't been playing that great. First 12 weeks of the season looking awesome. Last few weeks, well, no, you're an A.J. Terrell interception away and 1 safety that should have been a touchdown away from possibly losing those games. The other funny thing about that Saints game, remember he got sandwiched in the pocket there? For me, I don't think he's hurt, but we know that like Big Ben's like no one's 100%. If there's a chance even he's 97% and can get up to 100 through this bye week, I think he should feel okay. However, if you run into that Ravens team, which would win at that point 6 games in a row if they beat Cincinnati, I'd be very nervous if I were you. I'd be very nervous.
I told you, the Ravens are the team. The Ravens are the team that scares me. Because the Chiefs have never lost to Lamar. At some point, Lamar's going to beat them. The Ravens are the team that scares me. But I am right now, executive decision. I am putting a prohibition on us acting like the Chiefs got lucky that the Saints didn't get a touchdown when the Saints were punting with 9 seconds left in a half. We're like, oh, that's 7. They should have gotten 0 points. The Saints were lucky to get 2.
Vetoed.
And you're like, oh, no, it should have been 5 more. Never again. We're not mentioning that again, Jenna. That is gone now. That's gone. Executive.
Let's finish up in the NBA last night. Nets got back on track, beating the Hawks. They avoid the early season three-game slide. Kyrie finished with 33. KD went for 25. Nick, big game for both the superstars. Big win for the team. Are you starting to become a believer in the Brooklyn Nets?
And in fact, last night made me more concerned for them. Now, I want to give them credit in this regard. Once again, I thought KD looked very good, but more importantly, Brandon, off the air and somewhat on the air, has made the point that I'm underselling their bench mob. And yesterday, their top 3 bench guys, I think, were like 16 of 19 from the field. They were unstoppable. So the bench looked great, and the offense scored 145 points. And I'm not even going to worry about how bad the defense is, because I knew the defense was going to be bad. Everyone seemed to know that except for our good friend Chris Broussard. Here's what does worry me. Kevin Durant checked back into the fourth quarter with 7 minutes left. He was 10 of 20 from the field going into that moment. I'm going to show you all the shots he got in the final 7 minutes of a close fourth quarter. This first one is with a minute and a half left. It is a frustration forced 3 because he hadn't touched the ball in 5 minutes. The second one you're going to see was the dunk to ice it. Those were the only field goal attempts he got in the fourth quarter. And the reason for that, Wilds, and this one, this shot there reminded me so much of the shots he would take in the fourth quarters when he was playing with Russ, when he hadn't touched the ball and was afraid he wasn't going to touch it again.
Yep.
And Wilds, the reason he only got those 2 shots and took that frustration 3 was because Kyrie, who with 7 minutes left in the game, was 5 for 18 from the field, finally got a little hot and just took all the shots. So, like, we can run this tape. None of these are that great of shots. He does he makes 5 of them, but they cannot be, Wilds, running everything through Kyrie Irving isolations at the ends of these basketball games. That's not the way to win.
Hey, burning the sage, burning the Hawks. I think it's fine. You know that he was so out of rhythm. Steve Nash, the first 3 quarters, he's like, the guy's a rhythm player. So when you get to the fourth, let him cook a little bit, Nick. If the ball's going in, granted, there's some ugly ones here. This is a foul. There's some ugly ones here, but if this is the rhythm that he needs, it feels like Durant understands that. So I think it's less of a problem than you do, but I could see how it's on the problem board in Vegas. You can bet it.
Listen, and that's a hell of a layup attempt. Brandon's a Nets fan and is picking them to win the championship. Kevin Durant needs to be their fourth quarter guy, not Kyrie Irving, for that to happen, Jenna.
Happy New Year, everyone.